All right, this video is about Standard 7, writing equations from graphs. Please use that as your title of your notes. All right, just a quick things to review with you before we get into looking at the graphs themselves is the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Again, remember we always put the slope in front of the x, and then the y-intercept is always added or subtracted on at the very end. So let's try a couple here. Write the equation of a line with a slope of -2 and a y-intercept of 3. All right, so to make this easy, we're going to start off with y equals, and they told us the slope was -2. So I'm going to put a -2 here in front of the x, and then the y-intercept is 3, so I'm going to say add 3. All right, the next thing I want to review with you is point slope form. Y subtract y sub 1, which is equal to m, and then x minus x sub 1. Remember that this value and this value is always the opposite of what is given. And then, of course, this is the slope. The m stands for slope. All right, so let's try this. Write an equation of a line with a slope of 5, and the point is 3, 5 in point slope form. All right, so I'm going to start off with my y. And again, it's a minus y sub 1, so that means we have to make it the opposite. So the opposite of 5 would be -5 is equal to, and again, the slope is 5. And x subtract x sub 1, so again, we're going to make it the opposite of +3, which is a -3. And there we go. That is written in point slope form. All right, let's try one more. We've got y. Again, it's a -3, so we're going to make it the opposite, so it should be +3 is equal to the slope, -2/3. And then we've got x, again, a -1, so we're going to make it the opposite, so it's +1. And there it is, written in point slope form. All right, let's look here again. This is review. How do you find slope of a line? So hopefully you have said rise over run. If you haven't seen this before, this is a short way of writing it. This just means the change in y over the change in x, which is exactly what we say here with maybe yummies on the table. Okay. All right, so if we find, let's go on to the next page and we'll do the same thing. So we're going to take these dots and put them right back where we found them last time. So here and also here, those look like good points. All right, so for finding the slope, again, we're going to figure out how much we need to rise and then how much we need to run over. Let's try my color here. Let's go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went up, so it's a +5. If I had gone down, I would have made it a -5. And then to the right 2, again, since I went to the right 2, it's a +2. If I happen to have gone to the left, I would have had to make it a -2. So again, my slope is 5/2. And now let's go ahead and find one of the points. Let's go ahead and use the point that we used up here. We could use any point we wanted on the line, but we're going to go for a whole number as well. So this would be 3, -1. So 3 -1 here. So there's two things I want you to write an equation for. I want you to write an equation in slope-intercept form and also point-slope form. So let's go ahead and do the point-slope form since that's the easiest for right now. So we've got y. Again, it's the opposite, so it'd be +1 is equal to the slope, 5/2. And then we've got x subtract 3. Okay, so this is point-slope form. Abbreviate that here for a minute. All right, and then what if I wanted it in slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form. Okay. All right. So this is a little bit more difficult. We can't just say we know the slope already, but we can't just say that this is going through at -8.5. Maybe it is pretty close, but we don't know for sure. So in order to be absolutely correct, we can do this two ways. We can go ahead and distribute this 5/2 to each and go ahead and solve for y. That is one way. So let's see here. Okay, so the first way I'm going to show you is by actually going ahead and distributing the 5/2 like I just said a minute ago. All right, y +1. Just rewriting this so I have more room over here. All right, so we can actually distribute the 5/2. So 5/2 x equals, and forgot to write all this down too. And then 5/2 times -3, which would be -15/2. All right, so we've got -5/2 x. Let me find my green pen again. Again, that's 7.5. So if that makes it easier for you, you could write that as a decimal, like so. I'm going to run out of room here. Let me see if I can extend the page. There we go. So I'm going to actually go ahead and subtract 1 to the like terms. So now I'm left with y is equal to 5/2 x. And then if we subtract 1, we actually get -8.5. Okay? So y equals 5/2 x minus 8.5. Okay? I'm also going to show you one other way to do this, the same thing. Again, since we know the slope and we know a point, we can actually start off with y equals mx plus b and plug in what we know. We know that the m is 5/2, and we know that the x is 3, and we know that the y is -1. So you can do it this way as well, where you get the 5/2 times 3, which is 15/2, which is really 7.5. Oh, I should not have used blue. Sorry, let me switch to red. Is equal to -1. And then again, I'm going to subtract 7.5 from each side. So you're left with -8.5 is equal to b. Okay, so you can do this any way you want, or either way you want. So again, you get the b, but then again, you have to go back and apply it like this. So there's 2 ways to do that. All right, again, this one's going to be a little bit easier because you can notice that the y-intercept is actually going through the whole number 6, so we don't have to do all of that work. But let's find the slope here. This looks like a good point, and this also looks like a good point. So our rise is 1, 2, 3, and we're going left 1. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make this a 3 over -1, which would just give us -3. All right, let's go ahead and choose a point. So we've got 2, 0 is the point I chose. Again, you can choose whichever point you want as long as it's on the blue line. And if we're going to write this in 2 different ways, again, I'm going to start off with point-slope form first, since I have a point and a slope. Since this y is 0, we actually don't have to put anything here. We can just write equals, and then our slope, and then x, subtract 2. This actually makes it a lot easier, too, to see that, to put it into slope-intercept form, okay? So if I was going to do slope-intercept form, I could either just distribute this, or you can also see that it's clearly going through 6. So it'll be y equals -3x plus 6. So like I said, sometimes the y-intercept's very easy when it's going through a whole number, but when it's not going through a whole number, that's when we don't want you to guess. That's when we want you to use the 2 ways that I just showed you on the last slide. All right, here's one more example for you. Again, we've got to figure out the slope. So let's see here. Let's use red. This is a good point, and this is another good point. So notice I'm going down by 2, so -2, and I'm going over. Ooh, look, these are going up by 4, so we've got to be very careful with that. 4 and another 4, so that would be 8. All right, so our slope is -2 over 8, which then reduces to -1 over 4. All right, so like I said, you can pick any point that you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick 4, -4. 4, -4. Okay, and again, let's write our equation in 2 different formats. Point slope first. We got y plus 4 is equal to -1/4. And then our x value, it was a +4, so we have to make it a -4. And then this looks really close to -3. But let's go ahead and do some work to make sure that it is -3. All right, so I personally like when I just plug in what I know, which I know the slope is -1/4, and then I know my point is 4, -4. So I'm going to plug in a -4 here. I'm going to plug in a 4 here. I'm going to figure out what my y-intercept is. So if I have 4 times -1/4, that's actually -4/4, which is a -1. And yep, I think we are right, because we're going to add over 1, and we get to -3. So b is -3 in this case. So if we rewrite this, it'd be y equals, again, -1/4 x, and then subtract 3. All right, one quick reminder about horizontal and vertical lines. A horizontal line is right here, and it has a slope of 0. Okay, and vertical lines have slopes that are called undefined. It's so steep that we cannot define it. Remember that when it is horizontal, we always say that it's y equals whatever this is. So this is actually at 5, so this would be y equals 5. And this would be x, which is equal to 7, because it's going through at 7. Something that I find helpful to remember which is which is that if you notice, if you take this cursive y and you write it upside down, it looks like a cursive h. And then cursive h, the word horizontal starts with h. So that's how I remember that when it's a horizontal line, it's actually y is equal to something. Okay? And then x equals 7. Again, you can see the v inside the x, v for vertical. Okay, v for vertical. Makes a vertical line. All right. Let's try a couple more. So again, this is a vertical line, so I know I need to start off with x is equal to, and then I just look at where it crosses the x-axis, which is at -5. This one is horizontal, so I know it's going to start off with a y equals, and then it's going through, it looks like at -8. All right, next up is your exit slip answers. Please go ahead and pause the video and answer these 3 questions and come into class with these 3 questions answered. Thank you.